Welcome everybody, glad you're here. I'm going to be demoing out Snapshot V1. So I'm going to go ahead and install this. I'm just going to install like any other add-on. I've got version 1.0.9 already. This will be on Blender Market soon. So once this installs, you can go ahead and check it on. And let's drop this down. You'll see you can obviously remove the add-on. You can customize the menus a little bit. This is shadow lights, just to give you an idea. So you're customizing menus here. I'm going to add a bunch more stuff so you can remove or add pretty much anything you want. Display shutter settings is going to be a thing that is inside of the F8 menu. But just to check this out, you've got modals here. You've got on key presses. So you can change all your key maps. Instead of Alt-C, you can just left click that and make that Shift-Alt-S, whatever you want. But I'm going to leave this to Alt-C because I don't have any conflicts with that. Light intensity is Alt-X. It's when you'll have a light in the scene. And then there's pie menus and different things. So once you go through all that, you can see if you have any conflicts and change them if you need to. So that's kind of what the add-on's all about. Now you're going to have an end panel here under cams. You're going to have a special end panel under AS, which is going to be a different thing. That's a scatter you can use for lights. We're not going to get into that right now. Very simple. We're going to go over a few of the most important features. So if I throw in a cube, by default, if we go into face select, we'll see all the quads are selected. That's by default. So now if I go into the companion menu, F8, there's a right from the top, you have add cameras to selected quads. You do that, it's just going to add it to anything you select. You don't want that, select all the cameras, delete them, go back in. This only works with an active object. Select like two faces, whatever you want, and then rinse and repeat. And you'll just get cameras there. And we can select them. Press something like G, Shift, X, Y, and kind of move those bad boys around. Now you could also just add an icosphere in. Press F8, and just to show you how powerful this is, you can add cameras to every single quad on here. That's a little wild. There could be a use for that. Let you guys decide. Press the camera. You can go through here on the F8 menu, and you can literally just press the down arrow and say find the camera that suits you for a camera view. I wouldn't put that many on there. That's okay. Do whatever you want. I'm just going to select these cameras and delete them. And if I go back in, I could grab just a few, maybe like I just randomly want, say, one at the bottom and one at the top. And that would make sense. And then I could do this. And then I got these two views on the F8 menu and I can go through them. Now, depending on what objects you have in the scene, you can switch. You can add a camera here. If you hover your mouse over, you'll see some tooltips. But if you press this button, this is going to switch over to the view layer objects. I can make anything I want active from this menu. Then if I go down, there's a depth of field right here. You have to turn on depth of field. You'll see that turns it on right here as well. And this will load in a custom depth of field ranges in meters. Kind of cool. You can also grab objects and make them active here. And if you do select the camera, it's going to snap to it, make it active, just like this menu. Now moving down, you've got a button for rendering. So if you want, you could just render something out. You've got some camera focal length right here. You can also press Alt-C and get the same thing. Now if you drop a light in the scene, just to go ahead and get that modal out of the way, you can turn this up and let's go into rendered view and hit Alt-X. You can see the light intensity goes up and down as I move the mouse. And right over here, you'll see I'm moving the watts by doing that. It's just a modal. You can right click or escape or left click to set that. Now moving down, you can turn on shutter settings. This is very important stuff. You can play around with the exposure. Don't want to miss that one. But if you're in EV Engine, it's gonna display EV settings. If I come over here and switch this over to cycles, then press F8 again, what's going to happen is now going to say cycles settings. I can turn motion blur on or off right here. So those are basic shutter settings, motion blur. Just translate that. So the shutter amount can be changed here. Duration, there's a button to hide non-selected items. So if you are trying to look at something, this is pretty helpful. There's a companion menu. It gets a little bigger depending on what is selected. All right, time for one of my favorite features. And I'm going to drop in the camera rig for this. I'm going to move this out on the X, and I want to shift the cursor to the selected, and I just want to go ahead and drop in a cube. We're going to do a couple things to the cube. I just want to jump into edit here. I want to double tap I. I'm going to inset that, and then I want to bridge. Okay, I don't have bridge in that for some reason. So I'll just go searching for it, right click, and I want to add that to quick favorites. Now I should be able to press Q, and I can bridge those loops. Now, I want to add lights to this, and I want the camera distance to be the calculation. So that's what this is. This is the shadow lights is meant to add that. So now I come into the distance, and what is this going to read? This is actually going to read the limit. So if you happen to have your camera and you have limits on, you'll see right here, you're going to get a focus distance and you're going to get the actual clipping distance, okay? So if we use the clipping distance and we bring this back to something like 10, excuse me, go into the F8 and we'll go to the start and end here, and I'll just put in 10 meters. And you'll see this is going to be exactly where our light pops in. So I want a minimum intensity of 75 and a maximum of 150. Don't want it to be too bright. And then I'm going to go ahead and click Add Shadow Lights. It's now going to add a shadow light right there, which is super cool. So if I press F8, grab my camera, and I can switch back to the cameras, make it easy. Jump over to rendered view, and I've got this nice little shadow light. So now you can see how that's going to work. And if I want to access that light easy, go back to objects, click on shadow light. Now I can hit Alt X, and you kind of see where this is going. You can modify quite a few things with this. Then you can press F9 and you can change the color. You can change the radius, soften that up a little bit. You change it to a sun, spot, an area, whatever. I think the point light, Omni lights look really good. And so that is the goal. That's what I wanted. I think that looks pretty good. And that is how you can very quickly access the exact location and place lights in your scene using the camera. All right, moving on. I'll go through the end panel just a little bit more. There's a Gobo light shader, so let's go through all of that. I'm going to just drop in a quick little plane here, jump into cycles, make sure I'm on cycles. And if you press Gobo light shader, you're automatically going to get a light. Press Alt X, you can bring up or down the light intensity. You could change it before it comes in to a point or a spot wherever you want. Change the black body intensities. And if you don't know anything about that, just drop down Snapshot V1 and hit this little gallery recycle loader. And you'll see that for the little number, just whatever it is, add 1,000 to it. So it's 1,000, 2,000, 3,000. And if I add, say, 8,000 or higher, it's going to look like a clear noonday sky. So if I select that, then I'm going to get that level of light out of it. And this is only at 1,500. So what I want to do, and I didn't mean to select that, I actually dropped in. And it's trying to render, so this is going really slow. Give me just a second. And that's why I'm going slow. I'm on GPU settings. It won't even let me select anything in the viewport. It's so crazy. There we go. That's just a little bit better. So Alt X will bring up the light intensity. And if you notice the black body intensity, we'll put that to 10,000. Looks nice and clear. And if you press Gobo, if you look up here, it says press F9 for the gallery. What you want to do is press F9 and then hit reload right here. You have 4 categories currently. If you choose abstract, it's going to load that. and then you'll get abstract loads. Choose trees, reload, you're going to get trees and branches. If I select something like this, it's going to pump that out. And then I can play around with the radius and kind of blur that scene if I want. It's the fun of having gobos. I can mess around with the exposure, or I can load a custom image right here. Whatever image you want to load into that gobo, you can do. So if I go in here, go to my downloads, and let's look for something, snapshot PNG, and it's going to load my latest icon for snapshot. So I've now custom loaded that in, and I can make that nice and clear. Now you've got some options here. There's a fog. You can add volumetric fog. You can press this little square button, and well, you can only do it with a light selected. But if you press the little square button, come back, this is going to give you the full square shape if your image is rectangular or square. If your image is not, I've got an option for that too. So let's go to the abstract. I'll show you a good example. So if you come in here, you've got these round things, these round abstracts, and if I click this and it's on square, you're gonna see this garbage. Nobody wants to see that. So you can project just the circular image itself. Pretty cool. Change the color of the light. You can change the color of the fog. You can bring the fog intensity up or down, the light, Alt X, turn it up, do whatever you want, and you'll have some volumetrics. So that's your gobo shaders. That's in the F9 menu. You'll have a few other options in here. I'm sure you guys can figure that out. Now, you'll have a scene option of say 4 objects, 0 cameras. Just, it's a camera add-on, so it's a very important to know if you don't even have a camera in the scene. Now you have shadow lights. Now what are shadow lights? Let's get rid of our gobo. And I'm just going to press F8 and I'm going to drop a camera in the scene. I'll click on this. It'll make it selected. And of course, this isn't necessarily going to be where we want it, and we're still in this volumetric fog, so I'll get rid of that. And real quick, before I get too far ahead, I went ahead and deleted the constraint off the camera. So we just select our target, then make the camera active, press F5. Then when you right click to cancel the modal, you're going to now have the track menu for the constraint. This is the exact same menu, only the world space is a clickable enum right here. You'll see how it's going to change everything. So you'll still have the exact same options. You can change this any way you wish. And so that'll keep that pretty standard for you. I'm going to head over into Blender 3.6 LTS. This is another companion menu you can use. And if you press Y, you'll get this. And it's just going to float there. You can add in primitives, different things. You can add in cameras, all the empties, and those things that you need. Now you're going to have camera quick settings here, which are going to be very important. So if you do happen to pull in the camera, you can turn on the passepartout and turn that up, and the companion menu will just kind of stay there, and you can do the f-stop. You can change the focal distance and a few other different things. Turn that on. Of course, you will need an object selected for that to work. And then you'll have some object controls down here for basic things for now. You'll have some light controls, and then the camera lock and the cursor lock. You'll have those as well. And those would be pretty important. So you can lock the camera, very good. And you can even lock it to the cursor. I don't think that's supposed to work in 3.6, but it does. You can try this menu in Blender 4 if you wish. I haven't had a lot of luck. It fails over here. It doesn't work in Blender 4 too good. I've got to update that, but it's just a little companion menu with a few extras. And so if you are using 3.6, you can benefit from that. Just a little FYI, this will be on Blender Market very soon, and you will be able to pick this up. I know the price seems a little high here, but I'm going to add a really nice coupon for everybody. So grab it with the coupon and enter the offer code so you can pick this up. I always support the Dev Creator Fund. So that's always a good thing. You're going to have a list of different things, features, everything that is in here is explained in detail. The add-on has a couple of little Easter eggs in there, and you guys will find them. As far as the main functionality and all of the big features, everything was listed. You will be able to see the different Gobo outputs here that we went over. And I really appreciate you guys supporting the channel. Appreciate the likes and subscribes a ton. My channel's really just exploded over the last year, and I appreciate everybody so much. And yeah, so go pick up this add-on, guys, and have a great day.